Okay,
Whenever
just bear with me 2 secs. Right. And as usual, everyone, if you can just let me know on the chat facility if you've got any questions. Scott, if you want to kick us off then, please. Thank you very much indeed.
Hey, Jonathan. There's been a lot made about the 2-day test match and the condition of the pitch. Firstly, let's get your thoughts on the pitch. What did you make of it?
I thought it was tricky at times for everybody to play on. Obviously pretty dry, and that's what we've seen here in India. So I think we had first use of it, which is, we would have liked to have got a few more runs. And then being able to put India under a bit of pressure. We saw how when we bowled well and what we could restrict them to, gave us a chance. But would have been nice to have got some more first innings runs.
And you look at the young batsmen in this team, the likes of Zach, Ollie, Dom's at the infancy of his test career as well. How important was it for you to say these things can happen? It's playing India in India. It's probably one of the toughest things they'll do in their test careers.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, between Ollie, Zach and Dom, they've played 44 tests altogether and, a combined 11 in Asia. So it is tricky for those younger guys. But at the same time, it's important that they realise that test cricket is about performing well and doing well for your country and being able to consistently perform and hopefully set up games or win them. So even in difficult conditions like that, finding a way. So hopefully they're learning well and under no illusions, the challenge, hopefully winning the next test match. And those 3 guys being able to set it up or, as I say, win a test match for England, come the 4th test and level the series.
You mentioned winning the next test match. You often learn on the go when you're playing in these conditions. How important was it that they did suffer a learning curve like that, playing with a pink ball under new conditions on a wicket, which was very alien to them?
Yeah, you'd like to be able to roll with the punches a little bit and not have tests. You'd like to be able to learn, I should say, and still win test matches. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case in the previous 2. So hopefully the guys are learning, and we've got a few days of practice where we can start obviously getting back to the red ball. I think the pink ball did behave just a little bit more different to a normal red one. But the fundamentals of playing spin or playing in Asia against a seam bowlers is, very, very important. But all our batters, I think, have a pretty good method. It's about going out there and executing it and not perhaps trying to change too much mid-series.
Chris was saying yesterday that in training, the pink ball was doing quite a lot in terms for the seamers. Now, how difficult is it as a batsman's point of view when you go into a test match, having seen the ball seam around in training, and then you play on the wicket and some balls are turning, a lot of balls are skidding on, and so does that even stress the need for clarity in thought when you go out there?
Sorry, who said that?
Chris Silverwood said that the ball was seaming around in training, and we spoke to Ben last week, and he said a few batsmen were getting hit.
The pink ball you're talking about? Sorry,
yeah.
I broke up. Yeah, I mean, it swung. It certainly swings a lot more, and it has a sort of different feel to it. It feels a little bit harder, and perhaps there's a bit more lacquer on it, and certainly feels a bit smoother compared to a rough ball, which is able to scuff up. The pink ball doesn't really lose its sort of color, if you like, and I think that's the sort of idea behind it, so that it stays pink the whole time and doesn't change its sort of color. So it does feel a little bit different, and it's going to be nice to get back to the red ball. But I think pink ball cricket's going to be here to stay, so it's important that guys get used to it. We've seen it, some very good matches, I think, of it played in England and all around the world. So I think it will be in the Ashes again, perhaps. I presume so. So the guys have got to get comfortable with it.
And just finally for me, what's the mood inside the camp now? As I said at the start, it's not ideal, a 2-day test match, but yeah, what's the mood amongst the players?
After the game, I think with, losing 2 test matches after the first one, we were sort of feeling, we need to pull our socks up for the next one. And unfortunately, this one didn't go its way. So I think we've won 6 out of 8 in all sort of subcontinent test matches. In the last 8, I should say, we've won 6. So I don't think it's, time to sort of get too down on ourselves. I think India have played well. I think they've bowled really well. They're 2 spinners. and it's time for us to sort of match them in skill wise, and whatever the surface is come next week.
Thanks for your time, Trotty. Good luck.
Cheers.
Rory Dollard, please.
Hi, Trotty.
Hi there.
Hi. As the batting sort of coach over there, are you sort of mindful that some players might want to do loads and loads of work and just hit lots of balls? Some people might want to forget about cricket for the 2 days that are here and sort of take the mind off it. Do you have a very sort of individualised approach to how you're going to get these batters individually back up?
Yeah, I don't think the case of guys being, not hitting a lot of balls. All these players work really, really hard and hit a lot of cricket balls. I think it's a case now of guys just sort of fine-tuning their ideas with regards to what they've come up against and the way that the left-arm spinner and the way the off-spinner have bowled at our guys, and sort of coming up with how they're going to either change things maybe slightly a little bit, or whether they're going to stick to their methods, which have served a lot of them well over time. But also being able to adapt with whatever scenario they find themselves in next week. I think that's the most important thing when it comes to playing cricket in the subcontinent, is be able to read the wicket and adapt accordingly, to the surface, but also to the match situation. So whether you're facing spin with the new ball and it's getting on a little bit more, perhaps, say, than if the ball was a little bit older. So that's what I think the guys generally need to adjust to. I don't think there's many things guys need to do technically. I think it's a case of just adapting to the situation they find themselves in.
And Scott asked there, about the mood, and obviously we can presume that you guys are hurting from the result. But has it been hard to realise that a 2-2 result is out there for this team? And if you walk away from India 2-2, you've got something really quite substantial to hold on to. Is that the focus, rather than sort of looking back now on what's gone?
Absolutely. I think we will look back on it, and it is disappointing the way that the 2 test matches are gone. But, you don't become a bad side over, just 2 test matches. Yes, it hurts, and we want to pull our socks up and do much better for England. Every time you lose a cricket match for England, it hurts. And you always makes you doubly determined for the next one. So it's about being clear in the way that they want to go about it, and not being too sort of too desperate. Sometimes you can want it too much. I think getting the right sort of mentality is important, and the camp is very buoyant and looking forward to getting back into the nets at the ground and getting back to 2-2.
John Etheridge, please.
Hi, Jonathan. When you're a player, you can go out on the field and try and do something about the match situation. When you're a coach, you're sort of sitting up in the dressing room there, unable to do anything about it at all, really. I just wonder what goes through your mind as a batting coach when you see your boys bowled out for fewer than 200, twice in the game.
Yeah, it's obviously you feel for the lads. I think, nobody sees them work as harder than all the coaches do, and know how much, and also seeing them in the dressing room, how much they're hurting in the dressing room and how important it is to them. So, there's not much you can do, but you got to, keep the guys upbeat, and they're doing that well within the squad. I think the guys and the senior players are really good at that. We've got some good leadership within the ranks. And I think there's plenty of experiences in the past where the guys have had their backs up against the wall and they've come back and put in good performances. So I think guys are going to draw on those and, been in situations like this before and being able to perform under pressure. So it's just about, just staying, relatively positive about the prospect of going 2-2. And we certainly know that we got the players in the change room to do that.
And could I also ask, last time you spoke, you said you were keen on that vacancy in the batting coaching department. Have you heard any more on that, or there's some suggestion that maybe they're leading towards Trez? Have you got anything definite on that or not? Yeah,
I'm still waiting to hear, to be honest. So we'll see what happens with that. But I know that all the interviews are finished and stuff like that. So I'm not too sure. Just waiting to hear.
Fair enough. Okay, thanks.
Simon Wild, please.
Hi, Trotty. I was just wondering whether you think that perhaps these guys obviously had a bad experience in this last game, but is it up to them to? Are they better placed to address the issues in the next match, or is there any benefit to changing the batting lineup? I mean, do you think these guys have had some experience and they're therefore better off, even though it was tough going, rather than maybe trying to freshen up the batting lineup?
I think consistency, certainly out here in a series, is key. I think that'll come down to the selectors and the people who make the decisions, really. I think all the guys are in a pretty decent place when practicing and looking forward to the game. So I know the places, or everyone wants to play, and people are very, very determined on doing well for England. It's about making sure we have the 11 out there that can win us a game, having a look at the surface first of all, and having the players out there who can win games for England. So selection will again be a tricky one, as it was for the last Test match. There's plenty of guys who we feel can go out there on a match winners for England, and everyone will be chomping at the bit to hopefully get us a victory.
And does it matter if you're a left-hander or a right-hander? The problems seem to be equally tricky, depending on whether you're facing Axar or Ashwin.
Well, either way, you're going to have a ball turning away or a ball turning in, so there's not much of a difference, to be honest. And it's pretty. The wickets have been conducive to both types of spin. Whether it's a left or right-hander, so it doesn't have too much impact, really. I think you just want to weigh up also combinations of left. I think as a batting unit, maybe left hand, right hand combinations is important. So that might be something we look at.
Okay, thank you.
Matt Henry, please.
Hi, Jonathan. I'm not sure if you'd have heard this, but back in the UK on the TV commentary, your former teammate Alistair Cook said that he was watching it, struggling to find a plan that he would have put in place to play on that pitch. What do you think of that? And did you have a plan in mind of what you would have done?
I'm not sure what context he was in, but Alistair always seemed to be able to come up with a plan. So I think he's doing himself a bit of a disservice there, or disjustice. But I obviously would have played it a certain way, but I mean, it's really tricky. I mean, there's times I always felt you want to try and, especially if the ball's turning away, you always want to stay leg side of the ball. And as much as I tried to do that, I also had a ball skidding on a few times and get hit in the pad. So it's really difficult. You need to be picking length very well. That's one thing I would have focused on. But also the skill that the Indian spinners have had has been, really good. And we saw our spinners put them under pressure, certainly in their first innings. That's why I say if we just got a few more runs, we would have been right in the game. Wouldn't have been. I think it was a deficit of just under 40 runs. But yeah, I would have tried and, I wouldn't have changed too much. I don't think I would have used my feet too much. So that's how I would have played it.
Okay. And I was just wondering, you touched on this a little bit, but has there been any conscious effort to try and pull everyone together to keep the mood upbeat in the last couple of days? Have you done anything in particular? Has that been necessary, difficult?
No, I think everyone is together. I think in a biosecure bubble, like the guys have been since the beginning of January, everyone is together. It's not like you can go off and, everyone goes off in their own direction. So everyone is around. And from what I've seen, joining the side here in India, the guys have, got on really well. There are a few team things planned for tomorrow just to get the guys together and they would have had 2 days to themselves and gymming. I know the guys would have been working hard on their sort of gymming and fitness still here in the hotel. So the guys have penciled in for those. But there hasn't been any cricket over the last 2 days. I think the net facilities weren't available to us. So hopefully getting them ready for pre-test match practices.
Are you able to share what those things you've got planned are?
I think a few of the guys have card games and all sorts of things going on. So maybe a few quizzes, that sort of stuff. So it should pass the time. So there's plenty to do here in the bubble at the moment. But you miss sometimes going out a little bit and having the option of going for dinner and having a look at the the city that you're in, or experiencing the country that you're touring, which I used to certainly enjoy, which is a bit difficult at the moment. So you have to find other things to do.
Thank you.
Matt Roller of Quick Info, please.
Hi, Jonathan. Just wanted to ask, as someone who's played with Dom Sibley and worked with him quite extensively, how you assess his winter so far, both sort of in Sri Lanka and in this series?
I think Dom, we worked extremely hard before Christmas at Loughborough and in the marquee there on dry, similar wickets to here, and what he would have found in Sri Lanka and in India. I thought he finished the Sri Lanka tour with a not out there. A pretty good score, and then started the first test series. This test series in the first test well, and hasn't been able to sort of build on that. You know, full faith in his ability and is the way that he works at his game. So it's something he would have learned from. Hopefully, these 3 test matches here in India and the 2 in Sri Lanka will stand him in good stead for this 4th test, and finish the series really well. So. It's to come on a test tour of India your first time here is always tricky. I certainly found it tricky my first time, and a lot of players do, just like some players find it tricky coming to England for their first tour. So every confidence in him doing well in the next series, the next test of the series.
Is there anything in particular you've picked up on in the last couple of tests that you think he could improve on in terms of his method against spin in particular?
I wouldn't say necessarily that. I think he's got his option and just about executing them really. I think he needs, his clarity is very good on that regard. I just think there's been times, you've been unlucky where he went to sweep a ball and hit the back of his bat, and he's just had a few things sort of go against him that way. So, who knows, if the first test he missed a sort of a full toss in his first innings there, and it was out just before the close of play on day 1 of the series. So if he'd gone on there and got a nice big 100, you just need things to go your way a little bit sometimes. So hopefully they do go for his way next test.
Thanks.
Ali Martin, please.
Oh, hi, Trotty. You touched upon it there actually a little bit, but I was just thinking back to the 2012 series. You had a pretty rough start. You got a couple of ducks and a couple of low scores, but then you turned it around quite nicely. You got about 300 runs in the last couple of tests. I'm just wondering if there's any sort of gems that you can take from that and how you turned it around back then that you can now impart to the guys now you're in a coaching role.
Yeah, I think starting against spin, certainly your top order guys, you naturally, as you grow up, certainly in England, you always face a lot of seam. I think starting against spin is key. So getting used to that or getting your head around that. Certainly we've seen India open the bowling with 2 spinners, certainly in the last test match and in previous ones as well. So I think that and starting against spin is tricky, certainly with a new ball that's skidding on at times and the odd one turning or some of them turning. But I think getting in against spin is key, and getting used to the rhythm of it. I think because the length is always generally the same, it is the more you face it, the more you can get in and get used to the length and the pace of the pitch. And as the ball then gets older, it becomes a little bit easier because it doesn't have that bite or that hardness to it, and the pace is more the samey than if the new ball turns. And it does it a little bit slower, the older ball. So it's easier to read and adjust to at times. So that's what I would say. And that's the tricky bit against opening up or batting in the top order against spin when the ball's hard. Sometimes they skid on and not turn. And sometimes when they do bounce and turn, they go quite quickly because of the hardness. So when that wears off and that sort of shine wears off and it grips the surface, it does it a bit slower and you can adjust.
Cool. And I was just going to ask whether how big a factor. I mean, you played your entire international career in the DRS era, but how big a factor is DRS these days, and how much is it helping spin bowlers in particular?
I don't know if it's helping them. I think people, guys or batsmen certainly, guys and girls are just adjusting their technique maybe, and perhaps playing with the bat in front of their pad sometimes. I think it's 50-50. I think, there's times as a batsman when you've got a faint inside edge and you've been given out and you've been able to review it and then carry on if you like, or a ball's, an umpire's given yard and it was sliding down leg or it was going over the top, where we saw a few this test match now where you thought, well, that's definitely not going over the top, and it was. So it saved a few batters their innings. So I think it works both ways sometimes, especially on turning wickets. It's sometimes quite hard for the umpire to see if there isn't much distance between the ball pitching and where it's contact, if you're on the front foot, how much it's actually spinning or how much it is going to bounce. So I think it does. I think it evens itself out at times.
Cracking, thank you.
And just to wrap us up, Roger Clark of Sky Sports News. Roger might just cover ground that we've touched already, but just bear with him, please. Roger?
Thank you very much. Apologies, Jonathan. I was having a bit of trouble logging on, so you might well have answered some of these already, but I appreciate you staying back to answer a few from me. First of all, just what's the camp been like over the last few days? A lot of head scratching, a lot of analysis, or are they looking at it and thinking, well, the pitch was a difficult one to be on, we can't really take a huge amount from that and we just move on?
I don't think there's a lot of head scratching. I think we all know that we're disappointed with the way that we've played, and now down 2-1 in the series and having to win the next test match. But that's the focus, really. I don't think there's much. There's not really anyone feeling sorry for themselves. It's just disappointment. I think the guys over that had a sort of good rest day yesterday. A few of the guys been in the gym and working hard for next week. So there's a lot of pride within the side, a lot of guys wanting to do well, and a lot of match winners. So they'll be very keen to be able to put to bed the last test match and on to the next one. So, the guys are really positive. The young group of guys who are on their first tour of India, experiencing how difficult cricket can be out here, but also relishing the challenge of next week.
There's a lot of talk about whether it was the pitch, whether England players just didn't adapt to spin and so on. What can they do between now and the start of the next test in terms of getting their heads right in terms of playing spin and so on?
Well, we've got 3 training days. Guys have been working really hard, and I think it's about building on those and combining the way that the guys work, but also with the experiences of the last 3 test series here. We've seen their 2 spinners bowled really well, but there shouldn't really be any sort of surprises come the next test match, because we've seen them bowl. So guys are getting together, working with the coaches, working with each other, talking about how we're going to go about the next series individually, but also collectively as a batting unit is key. So that's what we're going to be doing over the next few days leading into the test series, and making sure the guys are in the right place to do well.
Do you envisage much in terms of change in the batting order? Is it a chance to have another look at some people, or a chance to take a new look at some people, do you think, was the last one?
Yeah, I mean, that all depends down to the selectors and selection meetings. So that generally happens a few days out or the day before a test match. So I'm probably not the person to speak to about that. But I think what in the past, the continuity in selection has always served well in test series. I think just because of test defeat, yes, sometimes you change teams, and sometimes you change teams because guys are in the bubble life, perhaps not here, and that's what's added to selection changes. But this squad is obviously the same now for this test match as it was for the last test match. So we'll have to see what happens.
If I can just ask you about that last test, I know people don't want to dwell on it too much, but we've seen sort of Virat Kohli come out and say, well, it was just bad. The batsmen didn't play well on both sides. We've seen other people say that pitch just simply isn't good enough for test matches. As a former test batsman yourself, what was your opinion of that pitch?
Well, I think that it was the same for both sides. I think we had the upper hand a little bit in that we won the toss and had the first chance to bat on it. And I always like to see what we could have done better instead of, blame things. I think if you say we should have got a few more runs in the first innings, as is key in any cricket, but certainly here in the subcontinent, as pitches all wear, as we know, first innings runs are key. And if we'd managed to get 200 or 230, 250, it would have been a very, very different game. If we had had a lead of 40 yard. I think we had a lead, they had a lead of 38, the Indian side on us. If we had had a lead in the first innings, I think it would have been a very different game. And the mentality batting in the second innings would have been very different as well. So, and the momentum in the game. So we needed to do better in the first innings. So looking and blaming a pitch when both teams had a bat on it, I think we'll be doing yourselves a disservice. Yes, the ball did spin and there were balls that skidded on a little bit, but it was the same for both sides. And, we've got to be better come next week.
Does it do Test cricket a disservice to see a Test match over inside 2 days?
Well, there are 5 days set aside for it, but whether it finishes in 2 days or whatever, I think you always want to see, you want to see good cricket and good batting between bat and ball. Clearly the bowlers had the upper hand in this Test series, and, let's see what happens in the last Test match. But I wouldn't say it does it a disservice. I'd say it's just different conditions and in different countries all around the world. That's what makes Test cricket so unique, the different conditions and the way that the game's played.
Would you welcome some sort of investigation into the pitch? And there's talk of perhaps the ICC looking at the pitch and perhaps even a punishment for India if they found that the pitch wasn't really up to Test standard?
I'm not aware of any of that stuff going on. So that's, again, it's not up to me to decide those sorts of things or comment on those sort of things. So all I know is the guys, whatever we're produced or whatever is provided or made for the next Test series, we're going to have to outskill the Indian side on it. Whether it's the same as the pitch that we previously had or very, very different.
Just finally, you're confident that the next pitch will produce a match that lasts longer than a couple of days?
You'd have to speak to the groundsman. I don't roll or cut grass, sorry.
Okay, Jonathan, listen, I really appreciate you staying back to answer those last questions. Apologies again for arriving late. Thanks a lot.
Cheers, thanks.
Thanks very much, everyone. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Thank you.